Hey, Brian, welcome to episode 30 of How Was Your Run Today?
I'm glad I've been invited. Thank you, Peter.
Hey, now listen, this episode is packed very tightly. So no messing about, my friend.
Let's move it along.
Well, I'll tell you why we're so...
Let's up the pace.
Tempo. This is a tempo run.
Running humor, you know.
Oh, my gosh, enough of that. No, we have a very special guest, our first celebrity guest, Brian O'Donovan.
Indeed.
Host of A Celtic Sojourn, a radio program here in the Boston area that is on Saturdays at 3 p.m. on WGBH Radio 89.7.
Or online. You can listen on
yes, you can. Where?
WGBH.org/Celtic.
Yes, Mr. Brian O'Donovan, he's a radio professional. He's a real person. He runs, and he makes
His whole family runs.
His whole family runs, and he makes us look like a bunch of American dweebs. But...
Should we go right to it? Uh-oh.
I want to get right to it.
Yeah.
I know the people want us to get right to it.
Yeah, he's waiting outside. I can see him.
But there's a matter we have to address very quickly.
What's that, Peter?
Hey, way back in episode 20, we did a quick thing. In between our Matt Damon and Muffin talk, we did a quick thing about expectorating while running.
Oh, yeah.
You can catch that around 14 minutes, 45 seconds into episode 20, should anyone want to go back into the archive. However...
Okay.
And I reference an associate of mine, a friend of mine named Sydney, and she didn't think it's okay. She says no.
Yeah, I remember this, and I dismissed her out of hand very quickly.
You did.
Nothing personal, but...
and she's such
I think I may have even suggested that she start her own podcast banning Snot Rockets.
You absolutely did say competing podcast throwdown. Go ahead. She's such a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
That here we are, 10 weeks later, she's finally gotten around to hearing the episode.
Well, only our mothers have listened to Keep Up to Date,
So it quickly prompted her to write an email. So Lauren was booked. She's on a cruise in the South Pacific.
That means she's running around the deck.
She's running around the deck.
In circles.
So she can't be here. So very quickly, I just wanted to read this note to you. Dear Peter and Brian, I just wanted to comment on something from episode 20. Peter brought up the fact that I think Snot Rockets are not okay. Brian shut it down right away, saying there was nothing wrong with it. And I applaud Peter for being open to discussing it even though he practices it. Brian, on the other hand, wouldn't even consider it.
I am close-minded.
Think about it. When you blow snot out of your nose, it goes on the ground. Adults, kids, and dogs walk on that ground and step in your snot and bring it into their homes. Some kids and dogs may even roll in it. So you want some stranger's snot on your kid or your carpet or your couch? That's okay? Love, Sydney.
That is...
I've added the love. The love's implied, but she did sign her name.
That is such a disgusting image that... no, I'm not changing my mind. Here's what I'll say. I actually agree with all of
what she said. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not wrong.
It's not wrong. It's all about the placement and where you do it, which is where I fire my Snot Rockets. It's going right into the curb or into the street. So if your kids are rolling around, and listen... Your dog, that argument is not valid because your dogs are doing worse stuff in the same place where I'm firing my Snot Rockets. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, and I have
right
a whole
into the curb, right into the street gutter. That's where I'm firing, and I have pretty good aim. The dog is doing much worse there, and if your kids are rolling around the gutter...
I feel that I have to stay very neutral about this because now I'm torn because...
Well, listen, it's gross.
It is disgusting.
I think it's more gross to see someone doing it. I don't want anybody to see me doing it. And it's gross to see other people doing it. It's necessary, but in terms of whether or not your kids are going to be rolling around in the street gutter, I don't think that is a viable concern.
I think everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own. Here's the thing. I don't like being on the bus and seeing people clip their nails. Ugh. That's unbelievably gross.
Wow.
No, but
I agree. That is gross.
But everybody needs to clip their nails. I hear you. Do it not there.
No, have a special room in your home or apartment.
Now, what she's sort of saying, if I may, is she's saying she doesn't want to see you ever do it. It's not cool.
That's not at all what she's saying. She's saying she doesn't want to drag your germs into her house or have her children roll in your snots. It had nothing to do with it looks gross, which is my concern. It's disgusting. It's stomach churning to see someone else do it. But the probability of my germs landing via some feet or some clothing or some dog fur in your home is unlikely.
Listen, I love dogs. They're gross. They're so gross.
Of course, and think about what they're doing in the gutter.
Can't. It's so awful. I can't in the gutter.
So I'm adding a minuscule amount of germitude.
Helping. You're probably helping. And the kids these days,
the amount of Purell I've been guzzling
and the kids
lately,
these days,
everything that comes out of
they don't have the buildup.
Antibacterial.
They don't have the buildup of the germs. I'm going to say that any given runner's phlegmage might help a kid beat the pox. I'll go up one more level. I don't think it's okay to be in a race and then turn and shoot it onto the other guy's bib. That's not cool.
That's absolutely
you have to
nasty.
Before you do it, you got to give the look around. You got to decide where it's going. You got to make a conscious choice of where it's going.
You don't be a misanthrope.
I'm not.
Well, right.
But I'm also not going to then...
We live in a polite society.
I'm not going to then go
civil society.
Get my golden lab and drag it upside down through a river of marathon leftovers.
Yeah, that would be a bad thing to do.
That's a bad call.
It's a bad practice.
It's a bad call, Brian.
Yeah. Don't train your dog in the street gutter.
Here's the thing. We're going to get another note in 16 weeks when she hears this episode.
Yeah.
So we'll be ready. In the meantime, thank you, Sydney, for the feedback.
Absolutely.
Can we move on to our guest? Because he really is the best. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go meet
Brian O'Donovan.
All right.
Peter.
We're joined today.
There's two Brians.
Hold on.
How are we going to manage this?
First off, I got to set the tone. You are our first celebrity guest, Brian O'Donovan. We've never had a major celebrity.
That's true.
Ever sit in that chair.
Major celebrity.
I'm going to say major celebrity.
I like the term that you used last week in the podcast and talking to the doctor, that sub-elite. I'm a sub-celebrity.
Yeah, you're a sub.
That's your
You're a sub-elite celebrity.
I'm a sub-celebrity as opposed to a dom celebrity, right?
I don't know about any of that, but we're so thankful you're here, Brian O'Donovan of A Celtic Sojourn. Thank you so much for coming into the guest chair.
I feel honored to be here, guys. This is like serious. I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous.
The mic is making me nervous. I've done this for 35 years, and you guys are making me nervous. You guys are celebrities. I understand there's a Franciscan monk that's following you guys and spreading the word around 3,500 communicants.
I believe that's right. Mr. Horan, Daniel P. Horan, Father Daniel P. Horan, liked us this past week on Twitter, which is wonderful. It's amazing.
It's amazing that he found us. And it's fantastic that he's spreading the word about HWYRT.
Well, he's a big runner.
Yeah.
So get out there and run. Speaking of that, Brian O'Donovan, how was your run today?
Well, it is early in the morning, so I haven't run yet today. But yesterday it was actually pretty good for a whole variety of reasons. I'm kind of getting back into running because I had a pretty bad year of injuries. One pretty significant, which was a running accident, actually.
Ooh.
But it was a simple, foolish trip.
No, nothing hit you?
Has anybody out there ever tripped when you're running?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but you know that trip when you know you're going down, but you try to prevent it? So I reckon I was like running like Usain Bolt by the time I hit the ground. You know, I'm sure it was a sight to see on Memorial Drive. Yeah. And honestly, I tripped, you know, foolishly didn't lift my legs high enough, and it wasn't even any major impediment on the sidewalk, but I'm going down and I'm like trying to compensate, and I just
arms windmilling.
Yeah, absolutely, it must have been spectacular. I'm surprised. It would have been a sensational viral video, much to my embarrassment. But I did go down, you know, tried to roll by putting my shoulder out, and absolutely tore my clavicle completely off everything.
Oh my gosh!
So now I've got a big bump there and rehab. And
what kind of season was it? Was it cold outside, warm outside?
You know, it was that very bad, it was last March, so it was after that very bad winter of snow, which I ran through, and I was very proud of. No injuries. I use yak tracks in the snow. I quite enjoy it. And this was a beautiful March day with absolute clear pavement. So it would have been more. It was easier for me to say, "Oh, well, look at the winter that we had," but it was just one of those accidents that really set me back, and I don't wish it on anybody. But just lift those legs. I keep saying that to myself when I'm running these days, especially the older I get. I notice sometimes I graze.
Yes, I found myself doing that this weekend. Actually.
Yeah, and. So that set me back, and a couple of other minor things. So I'm just kind of clawing my way back and getting ready for the Brooklyn Half Marathon.
I was going to ask if you had
Saturday.
a goal race this Saturday. Fantastic.
So wow is right, and it's going to be a challenge.
Will you be our HWRT emissary for that race?
I will. I even might wear your very, very cool swag that you just gave me.
The shirts that we're kind of selling that we haven't told anybody how we're doing that.
Just
you gave
us.
me a shirt and you expect me to pay for it afterwards?
No, you're a guest.
Oh, thank you.
Guests get shirts.
Awesome.
The general people out there who occasionally want a shirt, they have to leave money behind a rock, and then maybe
and then
3
we
or 4
run
days,
past it,
and we leave a shirt for them. No,
money behind a rock or some money behind Iran. It could either would work. I'm actually going to wear that shirt though in Brooklyn.
Wonderful.
All you have to do is take a photo of.
Yes.
Someone has to get behind you and take a photo of you doing one of these.
I consider it done.
Thank you so much.
Are we Facebook friends?
We're going to be.
Have you got Facebook?
Oh, yes.
You got a Facebook page
Brian,
for this
are you on
for the show?
I don't.
Well, I don't know, but social media guru
Anna Brooks, she'll take care of it. Our
Okay.
social media.
She'll take
I will
guru
post to my page
Oh yeah, well you can do that. Or you can send it to us and we'll post it.
and a Celtic Sojourn. I'll tag.
Oh my
GBH
gosh, you're going
as
to put it
well.
on a Celtic Sojourn page.
Absolutely.
We're going to shut the internet down. We're going to overload the internet. It's so exciting. All right, let's go back a little bit. How old were you when you first started to run?
I was probably 18 when I started to run. I was in college, just about in college. Came here in 1976. Actually, I think I might have started to run here.
I was going to ask
in the
actually,
US
yeah.
in 1976. We came here as students to New Jersey to the boardwalk, and I think I started running. Extraordinarily, I smoked then a lot.
Everyone-
actually,
everyone
well,
did.
you know, being from Europe, being from Ireland, I sometimes joke, but I'm not actually joking when I tell people I quit smoking after 10 years, and I was 18. So go figure.
Oh my goodness.
This is actually, and it's actually true. And when I started running, I realized what smoking was doing to me, and I quit almost immediately, and just continued to run. So I've been running ever since. Even though only recently, only in the last few years, have I been running competitively in my late 50s. When I say competitively, I run with Cambridge Sports Union, which is a wonderful, old, venerable organization in Cambridge.
So otherwise, it was. Were you an everyday runner or a 3 or 4 days a week runner?
I think I was I think probably a 3 or 4 days a week.
And that was your
on
major
average.
form of exercise?
It was for most of the time. Then I took up biking.
Okay.
And I do a lot of road biking and off-road biking.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the three things. And kind of aerobics for me. And running particularly was as much for my head as it was for my body.
Right.
And it keeps the blues away from me very effectively, actually.
Agreed,
right.
And I'm a huge advocate for running for that, for head stuff. And particularly being Northern European, we tend to very, very, very much suffer from the SAD syndrome.
Absolutely.
And running is an absolutely effective, totally effective for me.
I agree with that.
Seasonal affective disorder, Peter.
Oh, I knew. No, I'm just sad. No, I understand, but I get it. No, but I've noticed in the 2 years that I've done it fairly seriously, in the first year to into the marathon, it was very much for my body. I mean, it just changed the amount of weight that was on my body. Everything went away.
Even with those folded pizzas? And
Even with the zombie pizza.
Strap on your feed bag. Come and get
It enabled
Well,
you.
you really listened to
Yeah.
last week's episode. But then this past 6 months, it's been much more from my brain. I've noticed. Now that may just be that my body's like, I'm done. You're not going to get any more weight off. But if I don't go, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really affects me, and sometimes you can drop out of that because that's the way kind of SAD or depression works. It can say, "Don't do this." It's basically like the little guy on your shoulder saying, "Don't bother, just stay in bed."
Feed me over here.
Exactly. And
Feed your sad self.
But then
And-
exercise works the same way. If you do it and you keep doing it,
Yeah.
you want to keep doing it.
Exactly, but it's sometimes breaking through that barrier
That's
for
right.
whatever reason, and especially from what I was talking about earlier on, an injury can then trying to recover from that becomes doubly, triply hard because you're fighting that urge and you're fighting that little guy on your shoulder saying, don't bother.
So you start running in New Jersey.
Started running in New
on
Jersey.
the boardwalk by the ocean.
Yeah.
What
That's
town?
exactly right.
Do you remember what town?
Point Pleasant Beach.
There you go.
How could I forget what town? It was like an episode of Dazed and Confused
It's wonderful
in
there.
1976.
It's great.
The drinking age was 18. The women were like, we've never seen in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, we were 18-year-old guys coming from Catholic Ireland. Look out, New Jersey.
Why would you ever
If
leave?
the Franciscan is listening.
He is listening.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Father.
all right. He'll be fine. Have him on the show. Have him on your show.
I will, definitely. To make up for it.
And then do you move up to Massachusetts? Or
Wait,
do you
hold
go
on.
to-
I have one musical question. Is this Bruce Springsteen area?
Oh,
how close are
oh
you?
my
Yeah.
God!
So
It's interesting, Brian. You said that. We nearly freaked because we were coming down. It's not like it is now. This is 1976.
Right.
So what we got our Americanism from wasn't like everyday news or internet or cultural. I mean, the cultural imperialism of America at that stage was largely through music and bad cop shows like Kojak. And
you just used the word. You
did
can't
I?
do that. We're gonna have to cut that out. We're gonna.
Okay.
He's
He
European.
used a European,
He's European
swear
slang.
word.
I
It's
did.
fine. It's slang.
It's fine.
it is slang.
It's not so bad in the U.S.
No, it's not. It's the way you say it.
We're gonna have to come off iTunes now. Thanks, Brian.
So, getting back to that. So we were on the train from New York to New Jersey, and we realized that train goes through Asbury Park.
Oh,
Okay.
you gotta go.
And we went, yay, we're in Asbury Park. We thought we were the coolest of all cool because Springsteen was huge in our lives at that
yeah,
stage.
okay.
He was like personal heroes to us. We had listened to Springsteen probably for the previous 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we were just absolutely amazed that that's the case. Yes, but Point Pleasant Beach is just below Asbury Park. That's where we went for that summer.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great. So now, all right. So then you move up to the Boston area, or do you
Actually, no.
travel around?
That was the first year of college, so I go back and forth a couple of years. But I fell in love with the US that year. I absolutely fell in love with it, and I think I knew in my heart of hearts that I was going to live here. But we went back. I graduated from college in '78, University College Cork, and then went to London for a couple of years before eventually coming back here on July 4th, 1980, which then became unintentionally my point of leaving Ireland forever.
Wow.
And living here.
Was Independence Day intentional or just...
No, not really, but it just happened to be July 4th. I just remember arriving on July 4th and having my, I think it was called the I-90 or something like that. It was a form that got stamped and having it for years. I think I might still have it somewhere.
That's
And it
awesome.
was July 4th,
That is
1980, a very pivotal time, as you can imagine.
Arthur Fiedler probably playing at the Hatch Shell.
He most certainly was. Fiedler would have been. Even though I arrived back in New York and then made my way by train to Massachusetts.
Way to crush that story.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian.
exactly. I should have faked
Even
it.
though it's your story.
He was actually my cousin. That's the story we wanted.
Yeah.
Arthur Fiedler.
We were similarly hirsute, Arthur and I.
Now,
So does that mean you're wearing short sleeve shirts all winter long while you're running?
Why would you ask that?
You said hirsute.
Oh, okay, yeah.
first off, I'm the
Yes,
hairiest guy
amazing.
in this room.
That's you told me you were shaving your back for
Extra.
tattoos last year.
Wow, you really did listen. You didn't have to take notes.
No, I did.
Holy cow.
I listened carefully.
He's a radio professional.
So I'm assuming you've run in London.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Same
Okay.
thing. But again, just in the neighborhoods.
try it,
We
just to do it.
ran regularly in London. It was great for at that stage we were in our 20s. Nothing was better for London
yeah.
hangovers.
Yeah, to
Nothing.
get it out. Yeah,
Absolutely, man.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that was an absolute requirement at that age as well. There's another
So,
reason for running.
Squeeze it all out.
Squeeze it all
Yeah.
out. As a world traveler, which you are, where's the best place you've ever put shoe to asphalt or trail? It doesn't have to be asphalt.
Interesting question. I would say Israel.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. There was this wonderful run. We did a lot of business in Israel in the 90s, in the early 90s, and rock and roll, actually. I worked for Bob Kraft at that stage, the Kraft family. And we
Never heard of them.
We had an international event management company called Gemstar, and we did rock promotions in Tel Aviv.
Okay.
We actually put on Madonna and Elton John and Guns N' Roses. And
So small venues, nothing big.
Huge.
small venues, yeah, little coffee houses. But there was a great run from
Corner bar, yeah.
There was a great run from our hotel in Tel Aviv, one end of the beach. Have you been to Israel?
I have not.
It's wonderful. Tel Aviv is an amazing place, very Mediterranean. You know,
Yes.
that's kind of very classic, looking out on the Mediterranean. But there was one from a great run from there up to Jaffa or Jaffa, as they call it, which is a beautiful little village, fishing village.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I just loved the idea that
Beautiful
I was
and sort of dry, obviously.
very dry.
conditions,
Actually, the
so
beach,
nice
the
to run
beach
in.
was really nice to run on. You know, but you can't run on a lot of beaches. There's some Irish beaches that I can run on at home that are really good for running because they're absolutely rock hard
Yeah, they're
sand.
tight. Yeah.
And this was really nice rock hard sand, and you had to cut it into pavement for a while. But then you ended up in this gorgeous little fishing village with great restaurants, and it was really, really fun.
Wonderful.
Um,
I'm going to put that on the to-do list.
I've always wanted to go.
Running on the beach, I think it was St. Augustine, Florida, has a beach like that. Miles and miles, and when the tide is out, it's like
hard sand.
hard sand.
Nothing
Really
like
great.
it. I love running by the ocean when you
I
can get
agree.
the effect, the cool
Absolutely.
effect, and a little bit of moisturizing effect, really,
Right.
as well. I just love
Although
that.
sometimes you can get absolutely blown back by the wind, and then you turn the other way, and you're running at 900 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Except in Ireland, I sometimes have the wind in my face both ways. I can't figure it out, but it does. It does
It's
happen.
a circular thing around the island.
Exactly.
Yeah. So modern day now,
Yeah.
when you run, do you have stuff in your ears, or do you go quiet? What do you listen to, or if anything?
You know, I'm maybe a little bit embarrassed to say that I run with music.
Why are you embarrassed by that? I think that's fine.
I don't know. I think when people say, "Oh my God, you should really be in the moment and enjoy the birds and the bees and the scenery and listen to nature and be aware of where you are," I kind of buy that argument.
Yeah.
But for me, especially when I run distance, I tend to get bored a little.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And it keeps me motivated to listen. And there are several aspects of that. I actually am a big fan of books on tape.
Yeah,
And I love literature, and Audible has kind of given me an ability to absorb far more than I do otherwise because of just a busy life that I don't get to read books. But when I'm doing an hour's run, I can cover a lot of a book.
Absolutely.
And I listen to NPR, of course.
Sure.
Give a plug for GBH on NPR.
Oh, yeah.
I love the app NPR One.
That's a great app.
That's a great app.
That's a great app.
Really, I recommend it to anybody out there. And then I actually run, and I want to talk about this at some stage. My discovery as of 2 days ago of an app for running,
Let's go
because
for it.
All right, tell us.
I love to run to rhythm.
All right.
I actually find it really helps my, as a musical person, I play music, I love music, my life is music essentially. And I love to run to rhythm, to find the right beats per minute, and then make them steps per minute, and then to run to that to push me forward. It
All right,
makes
well,
a
this is the
huge
start of a
difference.
new segment, Other Brian. I'm going to call you Other Brian now.
Okay.
I know you're
Brian
the
with
first
a Y
Brian.
and Brian with an I.
Oh, God. Other Brian. This new segment is called Let's App That Up.
We'll talk about that in our next production meeting.
Oh, we can't have that title? Let's App That Up?
Let's app that up. Anyway,
let's app that up.
Does he make such kind of independent unilateral decisions
Well,
like
it's not
that?
my show. It's
It's
Brian's
his show.
No, I just show up and he lets me be on it, which is
I
really
heard
nice.
that you went to his
Yeah.
birthday party and all the guests
yeah.
were saying
Yep.
it's Brian's show.
I'm just happy to be indoors. So thank you so much, Brian. Let's app that up, though, Brian O. Tell us more about your new thing.
Well, again, I just love running to rhythm. So it's taken me ages to kind of develop certain songs, and I'll run with them, and I'll say, oh, it's not quite fast enough, or it's just a beat off, or 2 beats off. And somebody introduced this app to me yesterday, and it's called Spring. And you basically, what you do is it has several different modes. One of them is that you run with it on your iPhone, and it'll detect the beat that you're running at, and then you will select what type of music you like, and it'll match the beats per minute with a huge playlist.
Okay, hold on.
So it has access to a play. Is it accessing your Spotify playlist? Or
That's
iTunes
a really
or
interesting
something?
question. This is very new to me, but I think it possibly is accessing. Either it might have the same type of licensing system, or it's accessing my Apple Music.
Right,
Because I
okay.
got it through Apple, but I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Now, so this is very
that's
new to me.
interesting. Okay.
But it like really, if you look at this right now, and I'm showing it to these folks here, and it's asking me what I want to do. Do I want radio or a
alright.
playlist? So I'm going to say radio.
So then it's
and
gonna
I've
pull
got
it-
it set at 190, for example.
Okay. So
But you can
that's-
change that by doing this. You can say 190. You can change it
Okay,
up.
so you can adjust it
You can adjust it
manually.
lower to 184.
I want this.
190.
So you can either set it or it will detect what you're actually running at that moment.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And it has workouts on here as well that'll go from, let's say, 164 to 184.
I was going to ask, is there a
Yeah,
way
I
that
gotta
you
have
can...
a range. Yeah.
Yeah, so and then basically you just go for it. You know, it starts it off and it'll do your it'll take whatever genre. You can have hop, pop, hip hop, country, classic 80s, whatever. So here,
No, we
it's
can't.
going.
No, we don't have the license for it.
You can fair use.
No fair
30
use.
seconds.
Fair use. Needle drop. Mm-hmm.
30 seconds.
Ugh, call the lawyers.
Peter's
You know
the
what? I
most
don't care.
paranoid person
I
I've
don't
ever
care
met
because
in my life.
it's Brian's show, so I don't care. He's the one who's going to
Spring,
name.
exactly. He's got the
All right, so that's
liability
called Spring.
insurance.
And is it spelled the way it should be, or has it got like a
Spring,
hashtag in the middle
no,
of it?
just Spring, and it's a running app,
Running app Spring. All right.
and it is class. But I'd be interested in hearing from people out there. Do you guys run with do you ever run to rhythm?
I believe for myself that I need the beats. I need the music. If I
But do you
don't-
run to the rhythm? Is the question
to the rhythm?
of the music?
Oh, I see what
It's
you
a
mean. Yeah,
different
no,
thing. It's a
absolutely.
different
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, no, it totally changes my cadence.
boom,
yeah,
boom,
absolutely,
boom.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And but someone advised me last year, about a month before the marathon, you're gonna really want to hear the atmosphere of Boston.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
race day.
yeah. No, I can imagine.
So I was doing all my long runs absolutely to music.
Yeah.
And then I would occasionally, like by hour 2 or 3, I would change up to a podcast, then go back to music. Because then when you come back to music after a long form of audio talking,
Yeah.
it's like being re-energized. It's
No, it
great.
totally is, yeah.
So
I agree with you.
But then my last 2 or 3 long runs, like 18, 19s, 22,
Yeah,
21 rather, I went totally quiet.
and
And it was okay. I was able to do it. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it mentally, but I guess I forced it
Yeah.
on myself and said, get into this. You and I did some talking while we ran the long
Yeah.
ones, but a lot of times we were just quiet. And it got to a really good place for me. So I ran Boston without.
But I can imagine Boston, Peter, must have like constant, just because of the size of it and the way it's structured, must have constant reinforcement going on, literally for 20
Yes.
It's almost at points where it's oppressive.
Yeah, it's a
Where you
double
want
edge.
to
It's a
knock it
double
out.
edge. I want to shut it
But-
out. I got to focus now. You're saying my name because I've written it on my shirt, but you don't really know me. I'm crying.
You're
And I'm
screaming
not crying because
in
I'm
my
happy.
ears.
I'm crying because everything's terrible and I want this to end. And I'm on mile 4. You know? That's not really true. But I'm on mile 18.
But
and
the
I'm-
other 21 miles were great. The screaming and the yelling my
Yeah.
name was fantastic.
But then I went back to music when I started to do it in the summer again, back to just build up. And then we did a nice half in October.
Well, it was nice for you.
It was nice for me because I threw music on.
Yeah, it was
And I
horrible
went
for me.
much faster. It's the beats per minute thing.
Yeah,
I
I know.
really do believe it. So
It
I'm
makes a
going to do
huge
New
difference
York
to me.
with music. And I'll pop them out every once in a while. And I like to do that. I like to decompress.
Yeah.
And it feels almost really like I'm letting pressure out of my ears because sometimes the way the earbuds
Yeah.
get stuck in there.
I have to pull them out.
I pull 'em out.
I don't usually run with anything. If I'm going for over an hour, then because I get bored, I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to
Yeah.
a book. And then I'll turn music on, but only for about a half an hour because I think what happens, and this probably goes right to your point, which is I'm probably running to the beat, and then there's a point at which I need to slow down.
Yeah.
And so I have to take the music out. Otherwise, I'm just constantly pushing myself harder.
Absolutely.
And I need to do a little of that moving.
That's
Well, this is
where-
this is why the app is
Rest.
really interesting to me, because it was up to finding this. I found it difficult to get the beats per minute right.
Okay.
So I literally had songs. I've got a 5K playlist, which actually times my 5K.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I'll know when extraordinarily one of the songs that has a really great beat, because it's such a depressing song, but it's got a great beat, is Springsteen's Streets of Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
That's a terrific beat. So I'll know when that comes on that I should be at a certain stage of my 5K.
That's a good running song.
It is. It really is.
really
It has
is.
a dum, dum, ch,
Yeah.
dum, dum, ch. And so you can run really, really well to that. But it'll time my 5K to exactly where I want to hit, about 21, 22 minutes.
Okay.
I can run very well to most Talking Head song, again, because the beat is there.
David Byrne, man,
Yeah, he cares.
he cares
He
about
cares. I bet
runners.
he runs.
Yeah.
Is there any of your audience on A Celtic Sojourn write in say, hey, I listen to you while I run?
No.
Really?
I don't think so. No, I've never gotten that. They listen to. It's interesting because I do get a lot of feedback on it, and they listen to me while doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Some of which we can't talk about, but they mostly is shopping at Stop and Shop or
And things like that.
gardening or
House
I've
cleaning.
listened to your show.
house cleaning.
I've listened while I run.
You do?
Yeah, because the music jazzes me up.
That's great.
It changes it a whole scene. You know, it's like, oh, this is a different feel.
That's great. Interestingly, I don't.
Have you
even
ever
run-
tried to do it?
Never.
I mean,
run
you can't because
I
you
can't
have to-
run to the diddly D, man. I
the
need.
official name.
That's what my kids.
That's the original
my kids
title.
called it.
Is
What?
that the original title of the show? The Diddly D.
Diddly D. Exactly.
Diddly D with Brian O'Donovan.
Yep.
Oh
we
my
went in a
goodness.
different direction.
All right, now tell us about your training for Brooklyn that's coming up the half.
Ooh, wow. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for me because, as I said, I'm just getting back. But you know, I was interested last week with your doctor who said, you know, listen to your body. Of course, everybody
Absolutely.
says that, and I kind of did this time. So I've taken it really slowly. You know, getting back into 3-4 mile runs and then just ramping it up a little bit, but taking it every other day off.
I think that's
have
great.
found really works for me.
I think it's good.
And some biking as well. I do road biking.
Mhm.
You know, I'll go like maybe 30 miles or 40 miles at a time.
Great.
And that really kind of gets up my fitness level. What I found it hard more than anything else is getting my just basic fitness back first.
Mhm. Right.
And then getting the ability to run distance. So just on a couple of days ago, I did like 9.5 miles. And that was the longest I've run since my injury. And it felt challenging, actually.
Yeah.
You know, 9.5 miles was challenging. So I'm a little nervous about 13.1. But I think the adrenaline will take, you know, Brooklyn is kind of like Boston. It's a big deal there. There's thousands of runners.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in a beautiful rundown. Is it Ocean Boulevard? It ends in Coney Island.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Starts in
yeah.
Prospect Park and ends in
Yeah.
Coney Island.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident that I can do it. I won't do any time in it. Or
Sure.
I'm just looking to do it and finish, and I'll be happy with that. But I do it with my kids. All 4 kids
Oh wow.
They all run.
are all coming to New. Well, 2 of them live in Brooklyn, and 1 is coming from Colorado, and my youngest daughter just came back from Montreal. So
Oh, wow.
we're all traveling down together. My wife is our cheerleader,
That's a big time.
and
That's
it's
gonna be great.
a family thing.
That's wonderful. Brian?
I can't top that.
Yes, you can.
Yet,
No.
Are halves your thing? Is that your biggest that you like to do? Or?
yeah, I've never done a marathon.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with you guys that you've done marathons. I'm impressed with anybody who does marathons. I think I've gone beyond the marathon.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think I could do one, but for me, I'm 58, and I love to run and I love to bike, and I want to preserve that for as long as I can.
Yeah.
So it's not doing the marathon, but it's just in order to do the marathon, the training that would be required to do it is what fears me.
Yeah, I think for me, I fell in love with the half, and I was doing 1 a year, and I was really anticipating cranking it up and maybe doing 4 a year.
Yeah.
Because it got me in the best shape without without really a big risk of injury, because it's not you're not putting in those huge miles, and it's not, for me, it's all about time commitment. How much time do I have to put in either
Yeah.
every day or every other day, and what am I not doing because I'm running?
Abso-
So how do I
abs-
trade? What's the trade-off there?
I totally agree with you, Brian. That's exactly my attitude as well. Is if I can get to that level and remain injury free, and if you're running pretty consistently and in consistent running shape, you can run a half. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
You can just do it.
Yep.
And I would do, like, if in my ideal situation, I would do 3 or 4 per year.
Yeah, if you're running 3s and 6s on a regular basis,
Yeah.
you can run a half marathon.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I keep saying to people, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis. What makes me a little nervous about Saturday in Brooklyn is that I just haven't been running as much. My general fitness isn't up to where I need it to be. But having said that, the other thing that changed me a few years ago, in addition to running with Cambridge Sports Union, in fact, before that, was I actually did some barefoot running. I was traveling from here, our studios along the river in Brighton, Alston, and I was traveling into Harvard Square. I think I was just walking, or actually I was biking, and there was a barefoot race literally barefoot
Just
race.
happening right
Along the
Just
river.
happening along the river. Somebody had organized it, and I was like absolutely fascinated with it. And I stopped talking to one of the stewards, who was himself a barefoot runner, and he was telling me the benefits of it. And I kind of researched it, and cool runnings and all that the theory. And I actually started running barefoot. Now, people said, where did you do that? And I said, in the city. We had moved to Cambridge at the time. And they said, you're crazy. That's
Right.
like suicide. And I said, I just did it. I was extra careful looking at it. And I was fascinated with the concept. And I did barefoot running, for a mile, 2 miles. And sometimes even coming back from a longer run, I would actually remove my sneakers for the last 2 miles.
Yeah.
And it really, really gave me a kind of an approach to running that I never had before, because I had the usual injuries, getting older, hip problems, knees were always bothering me. And I found that by barefoot running, I just was forced into that position
Right.
of running on the balls of your feet.
Yeah.
And eventually I got kind of, what are they called? Almost like track shoes. My sneakers had no heels
the
to them.
minimalist.
Minimalist,
Yeah.
exactly. I never got into this kind of
Five fingers.
glove-
five fingers
Yeah.
thing. They always look kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But minimalist, and that kept me running on my balls of my feet. And then my last trip to Marathon Sports, plug, I suppose, who are very good on Mass Ave, because it's the one place that I found that allows you to run outside with the sneakers before you buy them.
They
buy
force you to.
Yeah, they do.
You have
And
to go. You have to show them how you run.
So kudos to them. I haven't come across that. Maybe there are others that do it. I'm sure there are. But anyway, they said you can go back now. Your form is such that you can go back to any sneakers you want, because you're still going to run.
Oh, so
on the
you
balls of your
use
feet.
sort of your barefoot time
Yeah.
to reset yourself.
That's exactly right. Now I don't run barefoot now,
Yeah.
but it helped me reset my running style. And I found when I do that, and when I did that I can run distance for the first time in my life. I could never
really?
run.
When you were
8
younger, what
miles.
would you do? Would you do 3 or 4 at the most?
Absolute maximum. And I didn't really run races at all, but I would do 3 or 4, and I would regard a 5 mile run as a really long run. Whereas now when I'm up to fitness, I regard I would miss, not doing a 10 mile run at least once a week.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's definitely a big change in me.
Wow.
That's interesting. I try to get my shoes off when I'm at home, just for that reason. If I'm outside or inside, either one, just make sure I'm spending as much time barefoot as possible. But I haven't done road running or sidewalk running or whatever barefoot, just because I don't want to puncture my foot. in
Well,
any way.
there's that, especially running in Cambridge. But you were surprised these days. I think back a few years ago, back in the 70s or 80s, I don't think you could have done that, because just there was a general sense of
broken glass everywhere.
broken glass, exactly,
needles and
garbage.
broken
Trash.
glass
Like cities,
everywhere,
really,
yeah.
if we think about it, how lucky
So
are
much
we?
cleaner than they used to.
Human
Seriously?
bones
Yeah.
just sort
Oh
of.
my god! The other thing
Urchins.
the other thing that I love to advocate for is the running groups and the track workouts. That really is huge for me.
Track workouts? Is this with your running club?
Exactly, and there are many others around. I know there are many in many towns, but in Cambridge alone, there's Cambridge Runners, CRA, and then there's Cambridge Sports Union, which I went to, and they do track workouts.
Yeah.
On Tuesday nights we gather at the Harvard track in the summertime, and or in the good weather, and they just organize, pacing, and it's really such a different thing. You run with people of your own level, but it really pushes you to get
Right.
Yeah.
some pace in. It's
Yeah.
a very different thing, and it's social, of course, which is
Right.
good to begin with. And then they go indoors to BU. We pay for that. We to BU's track in the wintertime.
So you do it year round?
Yeah.
You keep it up always as
I
part of
do. I don't do it as often as I really want to do it, just from a time standpoint. But when I do it, I go, oh, this is just amazing.
Peter and I did Yassos. Are you familiar with those? Those are half-mile sprints with quarter-mile, basically light jogs or walks in between. And you work up, I don't know how many I finally got up to, maybe 7 intervals. You're supposed to do up to 10.
That's a serious workout. You
It's
feel
a
that.
serious workout, and there's a whole way that you figure out what your half-mile is supposed to be based on what you want to run your marathon
Okay.
at. And it forces you, and we did them because we were training during that horrible winter on the treadmill, which you
Yes.
can't slow down.
You guys like treadmills?
No.
I don't like them at all.
But they're an alternative when you can't go outside,
you're
when
right.
there is no sidewalk. And actually, I would have to say that the speed workouts were okay on the treadmill. It was the only way I could actually do it without going a little nutso. But
they're made for doing it on the treadmill.
I did a few of them though on the track. I'd go down to the local high school and run it, but it also gets boring by yourself. So doing it with a group would be ideal.
Absolutely, or even with one other person. I find that as well. I mean, quite frankly, in the track workouts, if there weren't people there, I would quit. Every time I start them, I kind of go like, because you're running speed around the track, and I go, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah. Right.
I feel lousy. But being with other people, they'll keep you up. They'll come on, do another one.
But then when you go for a run 2 days later,
Yeah.
you feel the strength right there. You've each time I felt better.
Absolutely.
On my next long run. Well, I do another thing. I play ultimate frisbee.
Oh, really?
At least once a week, and
Great cross training.
it's great cross training. Although I have to say, my marathon training and the training I did leading up after that, where I really pushed myself and wound up injuring myself, it's an inverse relationship: distance running and ultimate frisbee playing, because my joints can't handle both activities.
That's a lot.
different. Yeah,
So eventually I may crank it right back down to just half marathons, because it's too much to do cutting and sprinting interwoven with 15s and 17s, because I don't get the recovery time.
Well, it's always been disappointing to me when I'm on the peak of fitness and biking and running fitness, and then I go home to Ireland and we have a pickup soccer game, and I can't walk the following day.
Right, you're wrecked,
and I go like, oh my God, I am so not in that shape.
Your cardiovascular, though,
it's
you could
way
play
up.
all day,
Exactly.
but the next day you can't.
It's
walk.
that cutting,
That's
that
how
cut,
I am.
and
I picked up the cat the other day, and I thought I got winded. She's like 9-10 pounds.
That's a big cat.
Yeah, no, she's not really at all. This Brian is going off to Millinocket, Maine for a marathon in December.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to have room in this.
Millinocket, Maine
Yeah,
in
we're gonna
December. Are you serious?
Exactly.
Is this like the equivalent of...
It was a free marathon.
Is
Come
this
on.
the equivalent of Shackleton or something like that?
I think so.
It's a reenactment. There's going to be room in the stands. Do you want to be
There may be some room
with
in
the
stands.
HWIRT section? We can reserve you a seat. Would you like to come?
Yeah, Millinocket, Maine. Do they have a microbrewery? I bet they
That's a
do.
good question. I bet they do.
I think they have several restaurants.
In December, what are they thinking? This is great, though. I love the idea of it, but it's
a
kind of
fundraiser.
wacko.
It's very
No, you gotta
wacko. It's
hear
a
this.
fundraiser for the town. Actually, just yesterday, the race website. What happened was the organizer, Gary Allen, organized it. He runs the Mount Desert Island half and full marathon every year. He lives in that area, and last year he brought a bunch of people up. Well, actually, it's more like 40 people to run it. Millinocket is a mill town up in northern Maine, and the last mill closed, paper mill closed, and they're just hurting. They don't have any other industry except
Recently it closed?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Wow.
And the population has been decimated, and
is this on the part of Maine that juts up into Canada?
Correct.
Then? Like Madawaska or something?
Pretty far up there.
Yeah.
The cold part, Brian.
The cold
Speak
part.
French, don't they?
We.
Literally within view of Mount Katahdin. That's how far up it is. And so it was a great event. And so he said, let's do it again next year. I think probably thinking maybe he'd get 50 or 60 people. Well, Runner's World picked up the story, ran an article. The next day, or within a week, there were 1,000 runners, including yours truly. And the whole idea was, we'll put on a free marathon, we'll get some volunteer support, and we'll just fill up the hotels for the weekend and the restaurants, and it'll be great. And I don't think anybody envisioned 1,000 people showing up to run, or what it's going to take to actually pull off this event. But I know the other reason I'm going is I know two guys that grew up in Millinocket, and they're running it, and so there's a social aspect.
Then it explains it. This is great, and
I'm also intending either to have to come back on a moose, dragged in by wolves, or on a snowmobile. One of those is going to happen.
It'll probably be 52 degrees.
It could
that
be.
day, right? Like, who knows?
Right.
And it could be with the screwy way the weather is going, but it could also be. I mean, common predictions would say that it is going to be snowy. Does it intend to go on if it snows?
I don't think there's anything that's going to stop this race. So you're.
So we're going to do a live remote.
And yeah,
We'll do
by me.
We're going to do a satellite hookup.
Actually, that's an interesting concept to begin with. I'm just thinking of this, like. That probably would be an attraction from a Runner's World type audience to say this event will go on. I mean, even if it's like a really heavy snowstorm,
Sure.
a blizzard, or 52 degrees, as you said, no matter what, this is what we're doing. That's fascinating.
I think people who live in northern New England aren't really put off by some snow if they're training for a marathon.
No, definitely not. No, I've seen runners out when using those yak tracks. Do you guys have you guys used yak tracks?
I do only when I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
It affects your running cadence.
I'm dying to try them because I've heard.
It does. It does definitely. I only do when I use yak tracks. I'm just getting out for the air. You know what I mean? As we talked in the beginning of the program, when I need to get out in the sunshine and there's a lot of snow around, I'll use yak tracks. I'm not expecting to do anything other than just get out for exercise.
But they strap on any running shoe.
Yeah, absolutely. They just like pull right over it. They're just, but they do work. But what you find yourself doing is in those times when there's a little pavement and a little snow, you find yourself seeking out snow to run on because they actually
it's really going to hold.
Yeah, and they actually become problematic sometimes on smooth pavements, especially the bricks of Cambridge. They can be a real problem. But I can imagine in the marathon you're describing, you better bring a few pairs.
You should just have them.
I might just wear my Sorels.
I say go barefoot.
That's an opportunity.
So he's doing that about 2-3 weeks after.
Good for you.
I do. I'm running the New York Marathon.
You are.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My son and his wife are doing that as well.
But they're probably.
Qualified.
Let's be clear on this. They've probably qualified.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. I'm buying my way in through a lovely charity. I'm helping support Children's Hospital here in Boston, and they mount a small team that goes down.
Good for you, Peter.
But
how many marathons have you done?
This will be my second.
That's right. You did Boston 2 years ago, 1 year ago?
No, one passed, yeah.
One passed.
Yeah,
just last year.
Peter and I decided to take on something that we're calling the circuit. So we're each running a 5, a 10, a half, and a full this year.
Okay.
And both of our marathons are late in the year, which made it seem possible, and now we're really regretting this entire decision.
So I think of myself as
our training doesn't even start till the end of August.
I think of myself still as a very beginner level, right? So a year ago, I did a half in the fall. Then I did the full in Boston in the spring. Then I did a half last fall. And so now I got nothing. So we just did the 5K. We're going to do a 10K next month. Back to a half, and then another full. So within 18 months, I'll have done kind of a lot of races for me. I hate races. To go back to our earlier discussion, I can't stand races. I don't get anything out of them whatsoever.
I love them.
But I love
them as well, actually.
But I love training for them.
Yeah.
Because I need a goal. If I don't have a goal, I've said before, if I'm off on my own recognizance, I'm on the couch with a box of Cheez-Its. So for real, I won't ever think about it. But for the second I put pen to paper or keys to a keyboard and
you've made the commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way as well to have runners continue to be motivated.
Yeah.
I think going towards that goal, whatever that goal is. But I also think the consistency, what I find is really good these days, is that the number of events that you can participate in,
it's unbelievable,
has proliferated dramatically.
Any given week.
You could take like 5K, 10K every single week.
Every single week.
There's running by the river here. I think there's 5 per year usually. There's some construction going on, so I think they've dropped it down to 2. Yeah. But I think they're on Tuesday nights or Thursday nights.
But you could go to any suburban town around Boston and run a 5K almost every weekend.
Absolutely, you can, and I find that's really great. Our club as well, CSU, does a wonderful ad hoc at 10 a.m. run around Fresh Pond every Saturday.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can do, it's like 2.5 miles around, so you can do that once or twice, and you're running against all levels of runners, and they time you. And that's every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. You can get your run in, a little bit of competition, and around a beautiful place.
I'm fascinated by the club thing. What made you join? At what point did you say, I want to join this?
I think because I wanted to kind of like start getting a little bit competitive with myself. You know what I mean? I wanted to say, okay, well, I've been running by myself for ages. How much more can I get out of it? Can I get a little speed work in? Can it make my body feel different if I do that, rather than the humdrum of just running?
Did you join before or after your injury that you're recovering from?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't part of your recovery. You made this switch.
No, in fact, I haven't gotten back as much because of that injury. And when I have gone back, I'm just not up. There are some very elite runners in this club, and they go off in a pack, and then there's a next group, and then there's a next group. And I would run in the middle group of that, but I found that I couldn't run in the middle group of that as I was coming back. So now that my fitness is back, and after I see how I do in the half marathon, I'm definitely looking forward to going back on Tuesday nights. And it's just, again, the rhythm of showing up at a particular time.
Peter, they'd have to make a new group for us, I think.
Basement elites. The basement non-elites.
You just take elite
Just
right
take
out
the
of
word,
it. Just the
word
basement
elite
runners.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, basement runners.
we can
No
strike
reference
that.
to elite.
Yeah, just sort of, hey, the other guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
The other guys that pay their dues.
I've noticed that many of our listeners who've been very active on social media and have been responding to the clarion calls that we've been putting out on
They
Saturday
run a lot of
mornings.
races.
They run a lot of races. They look pretty elite to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're listening
I-
to this show, but
I
I'm
don't know
so
why.
glad that they are.
Thankfully, they are.
Well, I think people like to talk about running, and sometimes they don't know what they're doing until they hear a little
Yeah.
bit about it. So,
Yeah.
that was very interesting last week. The advice that she had, and what an interesting person to begin with. She sounds like a
She's
Renaissance woman.
She's great.
But the issues of nutrition, the issues of
Oh yeah.
recovery, all of those types of things.
Hydration, stretching, you name
Yeah,
it. I mean,
stretching. Are you guys good at stretching? I am terrible. That's the one.
I'm embarrassed by it. I only do it after. I don't do much before.
My son spends he says that it's the most important thing that he does, and he
believe
runs a lot, and is a very competitive runner, and he laughs at me when he sees what my stretching regimen is. I'm just impatient. What happens
Right.
is
You wanna
I
get
just-
going, yeah.
I want to get going, and it's something that I really have to get better at.
I do a lot of stretching at the end of the day, as part of a sort of come down.
Even separate from running.
Separate and apart from running, I
Yeah.
have to stretch everything out, and then I go to bed. I can't just get into bed. I do have to stretch a lot of it.
Do you find that helps your sleep?
Mm-hmm.
I find it helps my sleep a lot.
I had been running into a situation when we were doing less mileage and more indoor spin class, where in the middle of the night I would wake up and my feet, my ankles, I was really clenching them and tightening them up and doing a thing. It was in relation, I think, to some calf issue, right?
Yeah.
And since I'm on a new thing now for the month of May, where I'm running every single day. So I'm
10 days you had done last week.
I'm 17 in now, so here we go, right?
That's right. I'll join
I've
you
had
today.
no issues while I sleep. So clearly something was going on with the cycling
Yeah.
and not the mileage.
That's interesting about the stretching before bed, though. I might try that.
You should try it.
Yeah.
I also, not to be a medicine junkie, but most times if I'm doing anything over a 4, I take 2 Advil before I go.
Before you go.
Before I go.
Yeah, I sometimes do it afterwards. After a long run, like the half, I will take some afterwards.
I try not to do
try
too
to-
much because I don't want to. I actually do want to feel it. I want to know.
Yeah.
Hey, what hurts? What doesn't?
Yeah.
And I've been, knock on wood, very lucky. But we'll
Good.
see. You'll see. But
That
like
is
you
good.
say, watch your feet. Get your feet up. That is no joke. I'm a toe scraper occasionally, and it doesn't take much to go down.
No, and you go down hard, man.
Yeah.
You really
You
go
don't
down
see it
hard.
coming.
It's happened to me about 3 times in my life, and the other 2 times, you get up and you say, "Am I okay?" And the other 2 times, I was fine.
Yeah.
I scrape a knee or something like that. But
Yeah.
going down hard like that, but man, did it pop my clavicle, and that really
Oh.
was not something I would wish for anybody. It was really painful and hard to recover from.
Well, we'll let you get back. We know you have to prepare for your show. And your big run.
The diddly dee.
Diddly
The
dee.
diddly dig. Good luck on the diddly d run, too.
Check out that app, Spring.
Spring.
So we learned-
let me
we
ask you a
learned
question. Are
about-
you a financial backer of Spring by any
I am
chance?
not. I actually, I'm not. I could be. I should be.
You should be.
But I've got to tell you, yesterday was the first time I used it.
Yeah.
And I am just absolutely fascinated by it.
Revolutionary, you say.
So we've
I
learned.
think it's run changing, life altering for me. Anybody who's into rhythm for running is the key
I think
thing.
this interview has been life changing for me.
So we've learned about Spring.
Oh my God.
The Rhythm Running app.
Oh my God.
Brooklyn Half Marathon. 5 O'Donovans taking over Brooklyn, storming in,
Yeah.
running the race. We've learned about.
He's the reason why Bruce Springsteen's a jogger.
That's right, exactly.
That's why. We learned
Why
about the right
streets-
kind of.
Why the Streets of Philadelphia is a great running
It
song
is a
in
great.
spite of its
I
depressing
absolutely
theme.
do run to that song. It's true. We've learned about what the right kind of beaches to run on
Do some barefoot running.
to reset yourself.
Try it.
You're going to Millinocket.
Everybody knows that.
I'm going to New York, but not now. Thank you.
NYC, Millinocket, man. These are great destinations for running.
We hope to see you after. Please come back.
I'll be glad to be back
from Brooklyn.
anytime. I'm in this building, and congratulations to you guys for doing something like this. It's really good. I'm going to spread the word. When
All
this
right.
is up, I'll be.
Please do.
We'll be
Tweet
Facebooking
about
and
us.
tweeting and
Instagram.
Instagramming.
Do you Instagram?
I have done.
I just opened my own account this past week.
Peter,
I
then
don't-
we're going to have to be sure to leave some of this interview in the show and
Do you
not
know-
edit it all out.
Do you know about coming up? Do you know about coming up to our thought platform?
No, I don't. But it
Yeah.
sounds very interesting.
Well, that's when we all decide on something. We're having a shared thought platform.
Okay.
And how do we get there?
Do you know that could be a new form of social media?
The thought platform?
Yeah.
The TP?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, don't call it that.
That's already taken, right? Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to have been with you guys.
We'll see you. You can catch Brian O'Donovan every weekend. What's the time of the show?
3 o'clock to 6, WGBH 89.7, or online at wgbh.org.
What day of the week?
Saturday afternoons, right
awesome.
before Garrison Keeler and the Prairie Home Companion.
That's awesome.
It's a great slot. We love it.
Well, thanks again for making time for us, and good luck in Brooklyn.
And you guys, good luck with all your training for the marathons, and looking forward to Millinocket, a snowy Millinocket.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll save you a seat on the bus on the way up.
Brian, have a great run today.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, this has been episode 30 of How Was Your Run Today with Peter Villa and Brian Gould. Music by Jeff Cronenberg. Anna Brooks is our social media guru. Andrea Bonnie Gould is our artist in residence. Thank you to today's guest, Brian O'Donovan. Listeners, please contribute to the show with your questions and comments. For email and social media links, go to our website, howwasyourruntoday.com. Get this podcast every week on iTunes, SoundCloud, or wherever you collect podcasts. Brian O'Donovan keeps them with his Bruce Springsteen records. But whenever you visit that special podcast place, please give us a rating and a comment. Every single one of those makes a difference in how this little here show is ranked. And if you love HWYRT, please share our posts on social media. It's free and easier than running to the diddly-dee. Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
Have a good run today.
Diddly dee will.
Brian, what do you have to plug today?
Yeah, do you have anything to plug?
Nothing. I'm just doing the. I'm coming back. Oh, I do have something to plug.
We won't use any of this.